Have a non-horror review for the fantastic film, The Killing Fields, 1984, Roland Jaffe directed film. This film won a bunch of Academy Awards, and Hang Nor, who played Dith Pran, won the only, well, there was one other person that won a non-acting, an Academy Award, even though he was a non-actor. He won the Academy Award for his role as Dith Pran. Killing Fields is about the Cambodian genocide. Pol Pot and his communist regime, helped by the Vietnamese back in 1973, really through the late 60s and mid-70s, terrorized Cambodia and overthrew the government and implemented a genocide, killed 2 million people in Cambodia. Basically, it was kind of a purge, an intellectual purge. Everybody that had what Pol Pot wanted to do was establish an agrarian society of non-intellectuals. So anybody that was a physician, like in the case of Dith Pran, were killed. So and this went on. The Cambodian Civil War went on for much of the 70s, and it was a spillover from the Vietnam War, essentially. And finally, the Cambodians rose up and got rid of the Pol Pot regime, but it took a long time. In fact, when they were making this movie, Pol Pot was still trying to exercise control. They shot most of this movie in Thailand, I believe, next door, but right next door, the actual regime, Pol Pot's regime, was actually was very close to the neighborhood where they were filming this movie. Sam Waterston plays the New York Times journalist that was right there at the heart of the action, and it's an emotional war movie. It's a war movie, but it's more of it's a look at the humanity of war and the implications of genocide, and it's stark, and it's effective and stark and realistic in terms of putting you on the ground with the people that are being terrorized. It's one of the few films I can think of that puts you in the place of right there in the action of a bunch of civilians, essentially, that are being executed. But it's a great film, and it's about 2 hours and 21 minutes. It was made for about $15 million, and it made $34 million. And as I said, it won like 3 Academy Awards and 15 BAFTA awards. I think its humanistic portrayal of war rather than is a little bit unique in war films. So I think it certainly played to Hollywood types that give away Academy Awards. I'm not denigrating the film. It's a great film, but it's not Patton. There's a great booklet that came with this film. This is really a cool little book that the Blu-ray is housed in. But this booklet is a nice overview of the movie and the events in Cambodia and pictures and things like that. There is Dr. Hang Nor, his only acting role, and he won an Academy Award, only the second of a non-acting actor to win an award like that. He was tragically killed by some Chinese gangland. I don't know. We don't really know, but it was apparently Chinese gang members killed him, tried to rob him, I guess. They went into his house and kind of gathered up his effects, and they found his Academy Award all the gold had been rubbed off, where he had proudly held his Academy Award for so many times that he wore all the gold off the thing. So that's an interesting story. Yeah, if you're looking for a very humanistic, emotional, dramatic war movie, this is it. The Killing Fields. I can highly recommend it. It's 8 out of 10. You know, my preference would be, in terms of ranking war movies, man, it's not one of the greatest, but because of its focus on the effects of war and the humanistic elements and putting you on the ground of a genocide, essentially, it does take a different approach than your standard war film. So I give it big kudos for that. From a special features standpoint, there's only one. It's a director's commentary, which was interesting. I didn't have a whole lot to say to fill up 2.5 hours, but there were parts of it that I found interesting. Other than that, unfortunately, I would have loved to have seen a making of, you know, on the ground featurette making of, and the scene locations and things. I mean, you're shooting in Thailand, essentially right in the middle of, or the tail end of, the Pol Pot regime's war with the government to maintain control of Cambodia, right next door to the country you're filming. You would have thought they would have taken advantage of that and done some kind of making of featurette, but sadly lacking. But yeah, I mean, if you can pick this up, I think I picked this up for $10 though. It's a nice book. I recommend it if you're in the mood for a war film. All right, well, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I will be back probably with a horror movie.